Today I want to play around with the Altered Paperclip tags again. I created a video a couple of Wednesdays ago using a sea theme, an ocean theme, and I created a Altered Paperclip tag. And so today I just want to expand on those ideas and show you some other ways. I've been thinking of other ways that we can create these tags and different things we can add to them. So the tag last time had a hidden journaling spot. So this time I want to add some different pockets and things, and I've got some different ideas. So I thought today would be a great day to give that a try. So first I'm just going to make up a bunch of these Altered Paperclip tags. So I'm going to make my tags up first. So what I've done is I've picked out some paper. I won't use all the paper that I'm showing you, but I've picked out some paper and I've cut some of it down to 5 by 10, and then other pieces I've cut down to 5.5 by 10. So in order to create these, what I'm doing is I'm just going to be scoring these today. If you saw my video of the last one that I made, I just folded the paper. It really depends on your paper. This paper tends to crack or not look as good when I don't score it. So I'm scoring this paper today. So really, it doesn't matter what measurements you're using for your tag. What you want to do is be sure to score it down the middle from the top to bottom and then from side to side. So for example, this one is 5.5. So I need to score at 2 3/4. And then, and I'm realizing here, if you've been watching me as I'm scoring these, I got my math totally wrong. And I realize now with this one that it needs to be 2 3/4 on the 5.5 inch side. And then on the 10 inch side, it'll need to be at 5 inches. But even though I messed these up, it's not that precise that it has to be. I can trim that off. And so I will trim the extra off. And so my tag won't be as wide as I had planned, but it's still going to be fine. So once I have all of them scored, then I'm just coming back and I'm just folding on my score lines. And so when I do this, you can see that I have 4 different sections. So what I want to do is I'm just going to cut out the bottom left-hand section. And when I do that, I'm just going to cut off the score lines as well so that I have a flat piece of paper. You know, if you leave the score line on, you're going to have that little hump there. So I'm making sure that I cut that off. And then I want to just make sure that when I fold this up, it folds up nice and flat. And so this one does, you can see I've got a little bit hanging over. Even if I had scored it correctly, sometimes I have a little hangover. And so when I do, I just trim that little excess off. So it's not that big a deal. Your tag won't be as wide, but these, like I said, these do not have to be a precise measurement. I'm just trying to get a good tag size. So once I go through and I cut the bottom left-hand corner off of each one, then I'm going to start making my altered paper clips. But I just wanted to show you another example here. Here's another one. And so once again, we have 4 sections, and we just want to cut that bottom left-hand corner off. And I'm just cutting on the outer edge of the score line. I'm just going to make sure that I cut that score line off because that helps everything to fold up nicely as well. And so you can see here, you fold the bottom piece up and then you'll have your left-hand side just folded over. And you want to make sure everything, once again, folds smoothly. And I'm just going to trim the edge because this one I definitely scored totally off. And so I'm just going to cut that little 1/4 inch off and it will be fine. So once I have all of those folded up and the bottom corner cut off, I'm just coming back now and I'm adding my paper clips. And so I'm letting my glue gun heat up because I want to use that to glue in my paper clips. So I want to add my paper clip to the very top here. So I've gone ahead and I have clipped the corners on all of these tags, and I just used a punch that I have, but if you don't have the punch, you can just trim it off with your scissors. And this tag here is going to be a little bit different. You can see I didn't cut the bottom left-hand corner, and I'll explain that one in a moment. So once I have my paper clips at the very top there, right before the edge where we clipped off, then I'm going to just add a little hot glue. But before I do that, what I like to do is take a little bit of my Tombow glue. You can use your art glitter glue, your Fabri-Tac, your Barely Art glue, any of the glue that you use. And I'm just going to go around the edges of my tag, and then I'm just going to fill in the center. And that way, that will glue my tag shut. But I'm going to bring in my glue gun and just add a little bit of hot glue around the paper clip. I feel like this helps to hold the paper clip still faster, and because the glue dries really fast. And so I like to use hot glue around the paper clip. Now when you are doing this part, just pressing it closed, you want to close up all of your edges. Be very careful. You do not want that hot glue to ooze out and burn you. So you'll see later on, as I go along making these, I will bring out my pressing tool and press some of them. The glue hadn't got really hot yet, so it wasn't that hot for me to press. But as I go along, it does get hotter, so I will use my pressing tool. So just be careful when you close up your edges here that you do not get burnt. It's not worth it. Bring out something to help you press that down. So now that our paper clip is hidden a little bit, you have the paper clip showing on the back, but it's hidden on the inside. So now this one I said was a little bit different. For this one, it works the same, but when I had those 4 sections, instead of cutting the bottom left-hand corner, I just cut the bottom right-hand corner. So everything kind of folds up, kind of opposite. Instead of folding up, it's going to fold down, and then you'll just fold over. So it's really not that much difference. But the reason I did that for this one is because the paper had a butterfly on the bottom left-hand corner that I wanted to be on the front of my tag. So I just changed it up a little bit. And as long as you don't cut any of your edges that fold, then this will work just fine. So you can cut the upper left-hand corner versus the bottom left-hand corner. So either way, I always cut one of the left side rectangles off. It's either the top or the bottom. And then you just fold it up just like the other one, using your hot glue and your regular glue to close everything up. So you can see here, there's the butterfly. When I saw that on my paper, I wanted that to be on the front. So that's why I cut it that way and did it a little bit different. Okay, so now I want to start adding the pockets and different things to my tags. So I have this scrap left over where I cut down my paper, and I love the flowers on the corner of the scrap. So I thought it would be really pretty to cut this down and let this be a long pocket. So this tag will actually be exactly like the tag I created in Wednesday before last video where I had the ocean theme. So it's going to be a different theme, but it's the exact same concept where we're going to have that long pocket on the inside, and then on the left-hand side we'll have our secret journaling spot or hidden journaling spot. So now you want to be sure to clip the corner of this pocket before you glue it on, since this one is going to be lining up with the clip corner of your tag. And then I'm just going to clip out a little semicircle out of the edge here. I like to do that for the pockets, but if you do not have a circle punch, then you can leave it. You don't have to do that. I forgot to mention that I went ahead off camera and I inked around all of the edges of my tags, and I just went ahead and did that and spared you that whole watching me do that, because that takes a while. But if you don't want to ink, you don't have to ink. That's just something that I wanted to add to these tags. Sometimes I ink and sometimes I don't. It's not something that I do every time. So then you just add glue on 3 sides of this long pocket and add it to the inside of your tag. And what I did was I made this pocket about half the width of my tag. So if my tag was 2.5 inches, then I probably made this around 1.25 inch. Just do whatever you feel looks good on the inside here. I was really trying to cut around those flowers, and so I could keep those on there. Okay, and so I'll decorate the fronts of these later, but for the next one, I want to put some sort of little pockets on the inside. And so as I'm creating these, I am just going with the flow. I had some ideas in mind, but nothing set in stone. So what I'm doing is just pulling up the scraps from where I cut these tags out of my paper. And I really like this piece with the little yellow flower on the edge. So I know I want to use that. And then I want to layer up another pocket on the inside here somehow. So I'm just playing around here. Now I'm not giving measurements because I didn't measure anything. As you can see here, I'm just laying it on my tag, seeing what looks good to my eye, and then trimming it down to what I think will look best. So I thought I would have 2 pockets, one at the bottom and one at the top. But, so what I'm doing is I'm just going to cut out the little semicircles on each one of these. But then the more I think about it, it would be nice to just layer these up on top of each other. But now that I have this smaller one and the larger one, if I do that, I'm going to cover up my yellow flower. And I didn't want to cover up that yellow flower. So I could do it this way, but then I would have a small pocket underneath a larger pocket. And I wasn't too crazy about this idea either, but this would work just fine. I was just being a little picky. So I'm just going to bring in another scrap that's just a little bit larger, and I'm just going to trim it down to the width of my tag. I forgot to mention that before. All of these pockets are the same width as the tag. And then I'm just going to layer up my little yellow flower pocket on the bottom there. And once again, I'm not measuring. I'm just going to bring it in my paper trimmer and kind of eyeball where I want the next pocket to be. And then I'm just going to cut my paper off. So some days I love to craft like this. I love to just go with the flow and, have some ideas, but nothing set in stone, and just create. So sometimes it doesn't make for the most polished videos, but that's just me crafting. And I love to share with you what I'm creating each week. So sometimes the videos may not be as put together as other times, but this is just me crafting, and hopefully it gives you ideas on how to create, and realize that everything doesn't have to be perfect from the get-go. You have to just work through it. So now I'm just going to go ahead and layer that one on top of the other one, and then I'll just add that to the inside of my tag. I think these paper clips are going to be so much fun to add to journals. Okay, so for the next one, I had an idea. What if I made this one into a mini journal? So that's what I'm doing. I've pulled out some guest check. I pulled out a piece of notebook paper here. It's just a notepad that had some grid on it. I've pulled that out. I've also pulled out some tea-stained paper. I've also pulled out notebook paper and just different pieces of paper that I wanted to add inside here. And so what I'm doing is I don't worry about how tall the paper is. They're all going to vary in height. What I'm doing is just making sure that they're not too wide, that they'll fit inside of my tag. And so I will also create some that are almost as tall as the tag. You'll see that in a moment. But here's a book page, and I thought this page was really cool because the bottom of the page was plain. So I thought that would be a perfect writing spot as well. So I started out with the idea that I wanted last week when I showed you that video. The idea that I had was I wanted a altered paperclip tag with a hidden journaling spot. Well, then I decided later on, well, wouldn't it be cool to add different various pockets inside? And then with this one, I thought, well, it would be fun to make it a mini journal. So now it has a lot of writing spot, but I think this would be a lot of fun. This will actually be fun added to a journal, but I think this would make really fun happy mail. If you like to send your friends happy mail and things, I think this would be a fun little mini journal to send someone. This would be a good one to keep in your planner so that when you needed to keep notes inside of your planner, I think this would be a good one for that as well. So you can see here, this is going to be my tallest paper that I use, and I'm just making it a little bit under the height of the tag. But where we clip those corners, we don't want to go up too far because then it'll be sticking out. And I did not want to have to clip all the corners of every page, so I'm just going to pull it down just a little bit so that I can keep all of those top of the pages just flat. And so now I'm just going through my papers to see, and I realized that I've put all the short pages together and all the long pages together. So I think it would look better to mix it up. You can do whatever you want to do. I just thought it would be fun to mix up the smaller papers and the larger papers so that when you're flipping through the journal, there is a variety of papers that you're seeing. So I like how this looks. So now that I have it like I like it, then I'm just going to staple it in the cover. But you'll see here, I made a mistake and I stapled the book together without putting it in the cover. So I had to take it apart and add it to the cover. And once I add it to the cover, you can see here the little staple holes. I wasn't happy with where the staples were. So I'm going to give it one more try, and I'm not going to worry about those little staple holes on the outside because those will get covered up when we decorate it. And so I just take my bone folder and I'm just pressing everything down really good so that the book doesn't have much of an alligator mouth. Now on the inside here, I like this little piece, but it has a lot of little staple holes where I messed up. So what I decided to do to make the middle of the book pretty, I'm just going to turn this little bitty page into a little bitty pocket. So I'm just adding glue on the two ends. So that way it'll be a little pocket for a little bitty journaling card or tag that I want to add in there. So here's just a sample I had laying beside me, so I thought I would just slide that in and see how it looks. And actually that looks really good. The scrap actually matches, so I'll probably leave that. So then to decorate the cover, I'm just going through some old labels that I have. I think these came from Your Creative Studio. They had subscription boxes. I think they still do. I haven't gotten one in a long time, so I'm not really sure, but the subscription boxes came with all kinds of journal things. So this is some of the labels that came with one of the subscription boxes several years ago. So I'm just going through the labels, and I want to find a label here, and I want to put the bottom corner and just wrap it around my journal. And this is just a sticker, so it's really easy to put on. And I've also pulled out my clear stickers, and these are just some plants clear stickers, and I think I ordered these from Amazon. I either got them as a gift or I ordered them from Amazon, but but I'm pretty sure they came from Amazon either way, either as a gift or I ordered them. I can't remember now. It's been quite a while. So I'm going to add another label to the top corner here, and then what I'll do is just trim around it so that I don't lose my little tag where it's clipped up there. And then I can just use the second half of it somewhere else later on. Now I did kind of get distracted when I was creating these, and I started decorating the tags. But if you want to see another idea on another way to add pockets to this tag, be sure to stick around to the end, because I do start decorating, but then I move back to creating tags some more, or creating at least one more tag. So be sure to stick around to the end to see all of the different variations that I came up with. So now for this one, I'm just going to add the little sticker to the front, and I think that looks really good. And I actually have a journal that I want to make myself, and I think this is going to be really cute in it because it's going to have a lot of yellow flowers in it. So I decided that this one actually needed a closure. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some eyelets to the front and back cover and then put a little string through it. So what I'm using here, this is my Fiskars. I'm not sure the correct name, but it's a Fiskars. It punches a hole, but then it also sets your eyelets. And I like this so much better than the tool from We Are Memory Keepers. That one you have to squeeze. I love that tool as far as a hole punch, but when it comes to setting eyelets with it, I have always struggled. I get aggravated because every time I try to set an eyelet, I either bust out the eyelet or, it doesn't do right for me. So this works perfect for me. It seems to just roll the edge over and make it nice and smooth. And so it's the way I like it. It's really up to you which way you like it. Some people do not mind where it splits the edges, and maybe it's supposed to look like that, but I really just don't like that look. So I'm happier with this tool. So it is loud. I always mute the video, even if I'm doing this live or in a video where I'm recording sound as I am crafting. Then I try to mute it because it is a very loud tool, because when you pull up on it and back, as you can see me doing, it bangs down. It actually almost sounds like a hammer hitting it. But you can see here, look how the edges roll over. And I really like how smooth they stay. So, and I'm not sponsored or affiliated with Fiskars. I just wanted to share with you, I bought these from Michael's several years ago, and there's I think it's 2 or 3 in a pack, so they're different sizes in the pack. But I do want to share that because I have heard some other people say they struggle with setting eyelets, and so this is really what works for me. But you do want to be sure that you have some sort of mat underneath, because it's going to cut into that mat. So I use a Dollar Tree mat for that, because I don't want to destroy my good mat that I always use every day. So I always put that green Dollar Tree mat down to protect my table. And you would want to do that, especially if you're just having your wood table underneath, because it would cut into that as well. So then I'm just going to run some jute string through the back of my journal, and then I'll bring it through the front hole, and then I'll tie a little bow in it. And it takes me a moment to decide how I want to do this, but once I get the bow tied, then I'll just trim it off to the length that I think looks good. But you could put ribbon in these. You don't have to close them up like this. I just wanted it to be closed up, but you could add all kinds of things. Okay, so here is our last paperclip tag. So what I want to do with this one is I want to turn this one into its own pocket. So it's not going to have the hidden journaling spot. So I'm just going to come in and I'm just going to clip like a little semicircle out of the front flap that we normally use to write on the back side for our cover. But this time I'm just going to clip a semicircle in it, and then I'm going to glue on both ends. And so this will be a long little pocket on the front of our tag. You can see here, I think that's going to hold a good sized little journaling card or, little tag in there. So this is a little tag I had laying over to the side. So I decided to give it a try and see how it looks. I really like how this little tag looks peeking out of the pocket. So then what I want to do is I'm going to come in with another piece of scrap, and I want to add another pocket to the front. So originally I should have probably punched both semicircles at the same time so they line up. So I had to put that first strip aside because the semicircles did not line up and I didn't like that. So this time I just brought out a scrap, punched the little circle in it, and then once I have those half circles lining up like I like them, then I'll trim the edges of this strip. That way everything lines up nicely. For the first one, I went ahead and trimmed it before I put the little half circle in it, and so nothing lined up good. So you can see here, that way I can have it lined up. Now, if I was making these and really I was just playing as I went along, but if I was making these and knowing I was going to make it like this, I would have tried to punch both circles at the same time so that they lined exactly up. But that worked out just as well. So I've pulled out some of the sheets from this cardstock, this paper pack, and it has a lot of ephemera pages. I think it was at least 3 pages, 2 or 3. I can't remember now. So I am going to use that to decorate. And I originally added a little sticker here to the front of this one, but I don't like it. So I'm just going to rip this sticker off. And then I'm just going to use some of the ephemera from the paper pack to decorate this label up. And I'll probably come back once I know what journal I'm going to put it in. I'll probably just come back then and add a bit more decoration. But for now, I'm just going to use this little circle here. I'm going to cut it out and add it where that label was. And so once I've inked it, I'm just going to cut it in half and just cover up where that sticker was. And I think it'll be fine for now. And then if I want to add, I think maybe some wording, or depends on what the journal is as to what I add there. I may even come back and add a flower on the front of this one. I'm not really sure yet. So I like to kind of make things up sometimes and not worry about full decoration, because I like to match it to the journal I'm in. I like to match it to the journal that I'm going to put it in. For example, if I'm doing a digital journal, then if I add this to it, I might take some of the ephemera pieces or the cutouts from that digital and add it on the front of this so that it all kind of goes together. Now I had this piece of lace laying on my desk, and so I decided I would just add a piece of lace to this one as well. And so I'm just using my Fabri-Tac to glue that down. And just trying to line it up here to see where I want my Fabri-Tac. And my Fabri-Tac is really getting hard to squeeze out, so I'm going to have to get a new bottle, I believe. I've thinned this one down over and over, so I think it's just getting really old. And then I'm just going to add the lace where the Fabri-Tac is. And then I look at it, and I like the edge here where it's sticking over, but on the inside, this is supposed to be our little hidden journaling spot, and I'm not really liking how it looks on the inside. So I did try to cut out some ephemera piece to cover it up, but that didn't work. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come in and I'm going to add a little bit more glue to the top of the lace. And because I didn't glue the edge all the way over, I'm going to take that edge that's sticking over, and you'll see here, I'm just going to fold it back just to get a little straight edge there. And I like that a lot better. I think it just finishes it off. I just couldn't figure out what to cover it up with on the inside there, and I didn't like how it looked. And so I think that's going to look a lot better. And so that's another one of the tags completed. Now for this one, I love the little flower that's on the inside there. So I'm just going to look in the ephemera pack or the ephemera pages and find something that matches similar. And so this little framed out flower here, I think will be perfect on the front. And then I'm going to cut out this label down below to kind of layer it all up. And so this frame was not like a perfect frame. It's the edges are kind of all over the place. So I'm just going to trim around those edges and leave it the way it looks. Now this has like a little bit, I can't tell on camera, but it has a little bit of texture to it. Almost a little bit of glitter look to it. So I like that. I think it adds to this as well. So I'm just going to layer everything up on the front. And I'm just trying to see, I want to make like a little cluster on the front here. And then I'm not really sure which way I'm going to do it yet. So I keep auditioning everything. And so in the end I decide I'm just going to cut this little ticket out and add it to the front of my, this is our little layered pocket one. And so I'm just going to add the ticket here, and then I think the frame and the half circle will go right here in the middle. So I'm just going to glue all of that down. So what I do to layer this, I want to add a little glue to this little half circle here so I can attach it to the back of the frame and have it sticking out pretty much where I want it. And then I'm also going to add some lace to this cluster as well. I think that will look good on the front of this. I always love adding lace to my journals, so I think this will be pretty because I think it'll go good with my journals. Since my journals always have lace in them, I think that this will all just go together well. Because I'm just making these ahead, I really don't have a journal in mind for all of these. So I want to go ahead and have them kind of decorated and ready to go so that when I'm putting a journal together, I can just go through my ephemera pieces and find things to go in that journal. And then I'm just going to cut another little piece of lace and use that at the top of my tag. And I'm just going to staple that on as well because I'm really into using my stapler lately on tags and things, and that's how I've been adding the little ribbon to the top of my tags lately. It's just stapling it on, and I'm just into that right now. I don't know why, I just go through certain phases. So there is that tag. So I'm really happy with how all of these tags turned out, and like I said, I'll come back and decorate some of them later even more. It really depends on what journal they're going in. So let's just take a look at all of the tags that I created, and I hope that today's video has inspired you to get out your paper and give this a try. These were a lot of fun to create, and I think they're going to look really good in your journal or your planner, or even you probably could even put them in a book that you were reading. Depending on how thick the pages were, you don't want to, if it was really thin pages, the paperclip may not work well. But here I decided to show you, this is my little 5x7 journal that I absolutely love. And so here I'm just showing you how these would look in a journal. I know that these do not match this journal, but I just want you to see what these look like on a 5x7 page. And most of these measure about 2.5 by 5 is how tall they are. So it kind of gives you an idea. You can make these smaller, you can make them larger, depending on what size journal that you are going to put them in. I think that this size is great for a regular size journal, the one where you use 8.5 by 11 paper folded in half. I think these would look perfect in those as well. But like I said, you can change up the size on these. Using a 12 by 12 paper, you can make these really big. Well, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Bye.